no sugar, no cream. Yeah, it's straight talk with Valerie. Come on, black coffee, no sugar, no cream. Yeah, it's straight talk with Valerie. Come on. It's straight talk with Valerie. It's straight talk with Valerie. Come on, black coffee, no sugar, no cream. It's straight talk with Valerie. Come on, black coffee, no sugar, no cream. It's straight talk with Valerie. Come on. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. It's straight talk with Valerie. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. It's straight talk with Valerie. Come on. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. It's straight talk with Valerie. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. It's straight talk with Valerie. Come on.
Hello, 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 hello. What's happening, Facebook? And welcome. We are back to our live broadcast on Thursday night. I'm so excited. I am so excited because I get real happy when I get the producer of this show to come from behind the scenes. And tonight is one of those nights. I want to let you all know that Trisha T. Duck is out here. Say what's happening to everybody.
What's up, everybody? And good evening, right? We're so happy to be here. And Valerie, thank you so much, as always, for sharing your platform, especially for important topics such as this. So we just honor and respect the work that you do for, again, allowing so many great topics to be expounded upon here on your platform. So thank you.
I couldn't do this without you, and I just want to salute you for the work that you're doing, true grassroots advocacy work, and fighting for those who really don't want to fight alone for this particular cause, serving for the underserved, and most importantly, trying to exonerate the wrongfully convicted. We realize that there is a national pandemic that existed long before COVID-19.
Yes.
And we realize that masks were worn by individuals before masks were required to be worn with COVID-19. And those masked people were judges, police officers, attorneys, and prosecutors, masked as individuals who work for us. A lot of them elected by the people, should work for the people, but they really are operating in a post-traumatic slavery type order. You see, those two commas that are in our Constitution, in between there, except involuntary servitude, comma, you're free except involuntary servitude. That's the prison system. And they run it just like a plantation. And it's awful. It's awful. People are taken away from their families. They're taken away from their loved ones. I just want you to hear from the people who are on tonight to tell their stories of corruption that's happening right here in the United States. It has no color. So we can't even isolate it by demographic, color, or race. It's happening to everyone, young, old, everyone. It's an atrocity. So what we want to do is share some of the stories with you this evening. And first, we're going to bring up Linda Sturmer. We love Linda so much. She's been fighting for a
Yes.
while. And we met Linda as a part of her fight. Linda, how are you this evening?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
We're doing fine. So happy to see you.
Yes.
So unfortunate that it's under these circumstances, but we are happy to fight with you and fight this cause and to continue to fight with you. And I'm telling you, my sister, you are strong. You are resilient.
Yes.
You are hanging in there because, see, you're bending but not breaking. Not breaking, and you're hanging in there fighting for your life, literally. So, can you share with our viewers your story?
Yes.
Well, there's much that I cannot say right now because I am still currently fighting for my freedom. I am free on the outside. I am not free from the system. I will be going back to trial if it is not dismissed. I'm scheduled to go back next year. I have been vacated, but basically recharged. And at least I'm out here fighting, which is miraculous in and of itself because most people don't get the opportunity I've been given. I believe that the judge saw the wrongs done in my case and believes in my innocence and granted me bond. The county decided to go ahead and recharge me, so they had to vacate my conviction in order to do so. But I did have to fight from the inside in order to get here. And that fight is exceedingly difficult, especially for people who don't have the support system that I am blessed with.
Wow. Are you allowed to share your charges at all?
I am charged with murder, first degree, and my conviction was life without parole. I served 9 years.
Wow. It is a tremendous blessing that conviction was vacated and for you even to be out here with us fighting from the outside.
I
Not
am a walking miracle.
absolutely, absolutely. Not to diminish the fight that you are in on the inside, but to be able to fight on the outside. And we are claiming victory for you. Delayed is not denied. And that's a saying that happens so often. My heart sank with yours when I found out that it was delayed, but I said, no, they need more time. They don't have enough because they can't send you back with what they know. So they're still digging, but let them dig. It's okay. You're going to be right here with us. And then I get to have you back on the platform again and we can celebrate. And I won't have water in this cup. I will have a glass of wine and we will celebrate and get together, give each other hugs, and just share love with you. I can't go on without even honoring Trisha, and she hates it. But by her bringing things to the light and fighting and having the summits and using her platform and calling people out and doing all the things that she does helps the fight, helps those that are in the struggle.
The people who are in prison do not have any idea about warriors like Trisha and yourself. They don't have any idea how many people have been freed from wrongful convictions. We don't have the access to the news. We don't have the access to the information. And so it's important, exceedingly important, for us to be able to do things like your show so that people on the inside can listen on their radio stations and hear and get hope for themselves.
Absolutely. And Christy Fraga says Linda is strong for those who cannot be. I saw Linda on her own do every step that her attorneys otherwise should have done for her. They missed deadlines. They did not return phone calls. They did not visit and speak to her in person, had no accountability for her or to prove her innocence, when that is what they are, in fact, supposed to do. And she said, woohoo, Linda. I agree. I agree. I salute you for your strength, your courage, and all that you stand for. The epitome of a virtuous woman, almost like a Rosa Parks. I think of fighting, Angela Davis. I think of fighting, and it's just so wonderful to see the support that you're getting in the comments. And we stand with you, and we will continue to stand with you. We love you. The wrongful conviction family is strong, is solid, and we will have your back in any way that we can.
Thank you.
Trisha, you're muted.
Okay, I've been talking. Sorry. I just want to say to you, Linda, that from the first day that I met you, I could feel your spirit and your fight. It was such an honor. And here's the thing, people think you got to talk to somebody every day to know that, that you love somebody and that you're there. But we don't talk all the time, but I want you to know that we do. We truly love you. We hold you in our hearts and in our prayers. Always wondering how your case is doing. And just, here's the thing for us, like Valerie said, we're not accepting no as a reality. We accept a yes on your behalf. And I just thank you. It's so hard. This fight is so hard. I think about how hard it is for me to fight, and I haven't even gone through what you're going through. And it's like really hard to advocate on behalf of those who are wrongly incarcerated, because the powers that be don't want to hear it. And so sometimes you get weary. And I'm thinking about how sometimes I get weary and I'm like, but you went through this and are still going through it to this day with such grace, with such class. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for shining your light for all of us to know that if you get in this situation, what do they say? It's this thing that says when your life is under attack, what do? You stand up, fight back. And that is what you are doing every step of the way. So again, we salute you. We love you. And we are definitely here for you.
Absolutely. And when she says with grace and beauty, just like some of those stallions that you're riding, just beautiful and standing there. Those horses are beautiful. And I truly believe, I've heard about therapeutic riding for kids that have autism and stuff like that. But it seems like that is therapeutic for you also, to ride your horses. But when I tell you, you stand with that same grace and beauty, I would be cussing like a sailor, and you just so poised or whatever, because I can cuss you out. And I would just be, but you're just always voice. You never raise your voice. You stick with the facts, and you know what you know. And that's why I know you're standing on truth. And you're confident in that. And so are we.
Well, these delays, as you mentioned, I have been disappointed. I won't lie. I have been disappointed. And I even got after people on my legal team and said, why? But I will tell you, something I learned while I was in prison. You always hear about God's timing. We hear it, but we don't really see sometimes the benefit of it when we're living our fast lane life. While I was in prison, I saw how God's timing came to fruition, came to reality in my own case with the delays. That judge took his time. He read my case. He not only read my case, he even said from his bench, I have read every single document. And when he said that, my heart was inside just cheering, because then I knew then someone finally had seen what needed to be seen. And each one of these delays have been fruitful. I may not have liked waiting. I'm going on 3 years now. But each one of these delays has been of benefit to myself and to my team. And these delays have given me more time with my family to work on rebuilding what was torn away from us, work with other people like Trisha and others who have suffered the ramifications of wrongful convictions. I was not able to participate with Trisha and some of the other advocacy that she does, but I tried to keep in touch with her while she was out there on the front lines. And I'm in awe of the people that are out here. My family had no idea while I was inside that this network exists. And so it's really important to me to be a part of it and be involved for others, so that I can keep my sisters on the inside, so that men can keep their brothers on the inside informed and fighting for their cases. So my hat's off to you ladies, because God's timing brought me to this moment right here in time with you two.
Don't make me cry yet.
Already been, so I'm sorry.
Look, Alicia said in the chat, well, I'm already crying. I think this is, look, get your tissues, everybody.
Yes. Well, thank you, Linda. We will bring you back as we get ready to bring on Alicia. So this was the perfect segue. Hello, Alicia. Could you unmute your mic for us, sweetheart?
Thank you. Sorry. I said I had to wipe my tears, so I'm already trying to. I get a little bit emotional with all of this. Hello.
And it is very emotional. It's okay. You know, I say that tears are not a sign of weakness at all, or whatever. You know, we need to express ourselves. It's an expression. It's a release. You know, I do a lot of verbal release therapy. I don't curse. I have verbal release therapy. It is therapeutic for me to say the shit that I say, you know, when I say it. And it keeps me off medication.
There you go. See, yeah.
The psychiatrist's couch when I say the shit that I say. So that's why I say it. Now, regularly scheduled program. We have Alicia Garcia. Alicia, share with our viewers your story.
Well, I always say it's not my story, it's Jason's story that I'm telling. So my story involves Jason Bowers. He was convicted in 2006 out of Wayne County for the largest crime was second-degree homicide. So he took a plea in 2006 for a 30 to 50-year sentence at 29 years old versus facing life without parole if he were to have taken it to trial. So I didn't know him then. I've actually only known him for 2 years. I met him a little over 2 years ago. And I just met him actually doing a volunteer opportunity, and we became friends. Just a side note, I'm a child of incarceration. My dad did 21 and a half years in prison, in federal prison. So I... Michelle Free Richard Fisher. Sorry, guys, I'm reading the comments.
Okay.
So I met him 2 years ago, and we built a friendship. And then I went and saw him just before COVID, and he's like, well, just ask me. I know you want to ask me. And I'm like, what would I ask? And he's like, ask me if I did it. And of course I had looked up his charges, and, that's not something you talk about on the phone. And I said, well, I guess I'll ask you, did you do it? And he goes, no, I didn't. And he said, if I did it, I would tell you I did it. And he said, but I didn't do it. And so for the past year and a half, I've been digging into his case. I have a background in criminal justice. It's kind of my passion. So for the past year and a half, that's what I've done. And I've opened Jason's case, and like I said, I'm not certified, or I don't have, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but his case is basically like every other story you hear out of Wayne County, railroading, coercion, lies, errors, etc. So I've run into that. So basically in September of 2006, there was an altercation between Jason's neighbor and his family. Jason wasn't there. He was called over. He went to confront this person, and a man wound up losing his life. And Jason was immediately taken into custody, and there's a lot of things that went on. And from what I can tell and what my understanding is, he was, like I said, he was railroaded. He was told either take a plea of 30 to 50, or we're going to give you life without parole. So he took a plea. Immediately upon taking his plea, he tried to withdraw his plea, and he was told no. But as I've looked up things, I know that there is a man, a detective, Detroit police officer by the name of David Pouch. He's actually in a couple other wrongful convictions. In 2017, a man by the name of Desmond Ricks was exonerated due to David Pouch's erroneous ballistics. And David Pouch is currently being sued for over $100 million on behalf of that case. But in 2011, there was proven that there are errors in Jason's ballistics. In July of this year, after a rally, someone came forward stating that they wanted to talk to authorities and on behalf of Jason, and saying that they were coerced and that they did not, I guess they lied, basically. There's coercion of minors in Jason's stories, erroneous ballistics. I would like to say prosecutorial misconduct, but we would never win with that one. Molly Kettler was the prosecutor for Jason's wrongful conviction. She's been known and investigated in other wrongful convictions. So it's just a huge, I would say, shit show. It's a joke, honestly. I always tell Jason I wish I would have known him 15 years ago, because in my opinion, there's no way he would have been convicted. But then again, I see everybody else's stories and exonerations out of Wayne County, and I think maybe he would have been. But so yeah, that's basically what we're doing. In 2018, when Jason heard of the CIU opening, he sent, I always call it the application of innocence, to Val Newman down in Wayne County. And last fall, excuse me, Cooley Law School and David Williams picked up his case to investigate his ballistics. And that's where we are right now. So God willing, we're on our way. He's on his way home. So I really want to tell you guys, I apologize for not saying it in the beginning. I've never met Trisha in person, but just what I've seen over these last few months of Survivor Speak and just everything that her and J Love and you, Valerie, too, you guys are doing. I am extremely humbled and honored to be a part of anything that has to do with lending my voice for Jason. So I really appreciate the opportunity, and I get super emotional, so I apologize again. But yeah, so that's Jason's story, and I always tell people I'll fight for him until he comes home, and if that's 15 more years, then that's what I'll do. But I know in my heart that he'll be home before then.
Wow.
Thank you for sharing.
There's no problem. Thank you.
Don't worry about being emotional. Tears are healing. And hey, they're all going to be free. We're going to ride horses like hell at Linda's place. We're going to have a good time. But, it's just sad. And I've said before, and I say again that, I'm okay with the conviction integrity unit, because that is why people are being released and some exonerated. There are a few who've been paroled but not exonerated. However, the integrity is in the wrong place. It should be within the prosecutor's office.
We could
And
do a whole show on that one.
yeah,
A whole week on that one.
We will dive into a little bit later. We
Sure.
have a Michelle Fisher that says, "Love you, Alicia." And then we have a comment from Krista. "The legal system is a son of a bitch complex." I think that's what you mean, but that's what I'm saying, Krista, because I cuss. And educational level of most people who are not paralegal, lawyers, etc. On behalf of Jason, and I am a nurse by trade, I like to think of myself as somewhat intelligent, but I have 6 years of college under my belt and cannot make heads or tails of half the things Linda talks to me about. It's individuals to have to be their own attorney and to have the system fail them so grievously with no recourse for those who throw away human life to ease their job responsibilities. I agree. No problem, Christy. I worked it out. I just don't understand, but we're going to talk a little bit about that later, about the system and what we feel we should do about it. But before we get into that, we would like to hear from another victim of the system. So let's hear from Paula Kensu.
Hi. Hope. Hang on 1 second. Oh, hang on. I'm trying to mute. Hang on.
Yeah, you got to mute your mic.
It's not working. Oh, there we go. Does that work?
No, we're getting some feedback. So we might have to just hear from her. Let's try it that way. Trisha, you're muted.
All right, go ahead, Paula.
Oh, hey. Hi, thank you for having me on. I'm sorry about the connection issues. I live in the middle of nowhere. I'm speaking on behalf of my wrongfully convicted fiance.
Oops.
Incarcerated for 35 years come November in the Macomb Regional Facility of the Michigan Department of Corrections. He was convicted of murder, and he has a very incredible story. He has nearly a dozen witnesses that place him over 400 miles from the crime. He has more evidence of innocence than, any of these guys that you hear coming out. One guy, you hear, oh, this guy had a receipt. Well, Temujin has that, plus he has a dozen witnesses, plus he has passed a polygraph. His primary alibi passed a polygraph. There's no evidence that he was at the crime scene. There was no gunpowder on any of his belongings. He's never owned a shotgun. The victim was killed with a gun. The prosecutor in the case came out with this outlandish theory that Temujin flew from the Upper Peninsula down to Port Huron, Michigan, committed the murder. And this is back in 1986, right before we had all of this technology that we have now. So evidently, the prosecutor thinks that he flew down, chartered a plane, flew back, but there was no flight record. There was no evidence of a flight. There was no pilot. There was no co-conspirators driving him from the airport to the parking lot college. It just goes on. And come to find out, our investigator found out that the prosecutor actually put his own friend and personal pilot on the stand to testify against Temujin, and we found that out years later. There was a phony photo board. They hid evidence. They hid witnesses. They just buried him. They never looked at anybody else as a suspect at all. And he was just completely railroaded. He was 23 years old when this happened to him. He didn't have any money. He was from Flint, Michigan. He he didn't have people fighting for him. He thought that they were going to let him, testify, and they didn't allow him to do that. And he was thinking the system was going to work, and that he would be, that the jury would see through the smoke and mirrors, but it didn't happen quite that way at all, because they prevented him from speaking at his own trial. The thing that I'd like to focus on is, there's all these wrongful convictions, and, the conviction integrity unit's great. I'm glad that they're helping people be released, but we need to stop the bleeding. And the only way to do that is to eliminate absolute immunity. The great thing, if you can call it a great thing, about the last year, 2 years, even with like all of the publicity with George Floyd, there was all this talk about removing qualified immunity. That's huge. That's very important, and it needs to be done. But qualified immunity covers cops, and the thing that people aren't talking about is absolute immunity. And absolute immunity protects judges and prosecutors. And I could understand if you make a mistake, you should be exempt from that mistake. Like, if you aren't aware that a person is giving you telling you that they have a witness, and they don't know that witness is lying, that's not the prosecutor's fault. But what we have happening in cases like Temujin's, and in cases all across the United States, are cases of gross misconduct. It's cases where they are literally hiding evidence and lying and doing everything they can to obtain a conviction. And they are literally framing innocent people for murder or for crimes that they didn't commit. And sometimes crimes that didn't even exist, that they're being prosecuted just to fill up the prisons and jails. And the only way we're going to end this is by holding those cops and the prosecutors and the judges accountable for their actions. I have a couple ideas of how we can start to do that. I don't think immunity is going to go away. I think it's going to be something that we're going to have to chip away at. I personally think that we should have a liability fund that prosecutors and judges must pay. I would love to see a bill go through where judges and prosecutors must pay into a wrongful conviction fund, a liability, like a legal liability fund, similar to what physicians pay into for medical malpractice. And then their rates would go up based on, the number of wrongful convictions in their county. I don't know. This is just an idea that I had. I don't know. I just feel like absolute immunity is a long shot, and I feel like we need to hit them some way, and their pocketbook is the only way that I can kind of think of that would be a good first start. But that's just one idea. Something's got to happen. Something's got to change.
Great minds think alike, because I often said the same thing, that if it was treated like a malpractice insurance for a physician of someone or someone of that nature, and they had to levy their assets to pay the bill, because it's like, so what if I screw up? It falls on the back of the taxpayers. So it doesn't matter if I screw up or whatever, I don't have to pay it. And I think they would think twice about it.
It's hard. Also, we have the wrongful incarceration conviction fund, or the WICA, the act, the fund that compensates the wrongfully convicted. And, the state's paying the burden. The state doesn't want to pay the burden, and the state's going to get around it. We're going to have people like Kim Worthy come out and say, oh, I'll let you off this charge, but you're not really going to be let go, kind of like what Linda's going through. And that's, if you're innocent, you're damn innocent. Let these people go, and you don't have a hold on them. Like, you can't take them back. You can't find evidence later on or find some reason to pull them back just because some prosecutors got something against you, or some judges got something against you. Like, this is just, Ray Gray is an example. And Alicia, I think, can speak to his case. But it's just, it's just infuriating. It's maddening that this happens to begin with. And then for them to have the audacity to not pay these guys is just, that's just bullshit. And then they're sitting in their marble building and their tables with their desks and their leather chairs, and they're making the decision that these guys can't get a measly $50,000 a year for every year of their life that's been stolen. That's just despicable, and it makes me sick.
It is. It's reprehensible. And they have the money. Anytime you have $1 trillion package that you sign, you know, for COVID relief and all of these other things, you have the money. And the other thing that really,
$500 million, is it $500 million rainy day fund? We have a $500 million rainy day fund. I sent through a FOIA today asking, they finalized the 2022 budget for the state of Michigan. I asked, how much did you put into the wrongful conviction fund?
Probably $0.
The last time they funded it, they ran out, and they're not going to put money in there. They're going to come up with some other way to screw these guys, and it's just, I don't know.
It's reprehensible. And the other thing that really, really, really pisses me off is those who are eligible, because they have so many loopholes and red tape and all of this other stuff. But those who they feel are eligible, first of all, that eligibility needs to be determined prior to the release date. And that first check, if not that entire check, needs to be cut the day that their feet hit the ground on the outside. Because these people have to live. They have to find some way to live. They shouldn't be couching at someone's house. They shouldn't be homeless. They should come out with a full package. They release them on the street like they're being paroled and like they're really guilty. So yeah, you let me out of jail, but you're treating me the same way that you're treating other people. And it pisses me off because at the least, they should come out that day with identification, that first $50,000 allotment, even if they have to meet with a financial planner, they so scared we gonna get rich off of some. $50,000 is not even a lot of money, even if you times it, multiply it by whatever. It's not a lot of money. And then we have food stamps. If you can give an extra $300 food stamps and an extra $300 unemployment, then there's no way. We should have an exoneree relief package that utilizes some of the government benefits that are already existing for people: Medicaid, food stamps, identification, that first $50,000 check, and a HUD voucher for housing. And if you can't find one, put them up in a hotel or whatever. But it shouldn't make sense for them to be couching at someone's house. Especially the men. No one, but especially a man, he has his pride. You know, and a woman who is impatient with this process is going to say, hey, I held you down while you were locked up. You know, what about the kids? What about my child support? I mean, as soon as he get one check, everybody grabbing at that. So $50,000 would be a good. Here's another thing. Add up the child support that was supposed to be paid to the children or the support to those families that was missing. Use the same calculation you use in a lawsuit. They look at how much you were worth, your life expectancy or whatever, and come up with how much money they want to pay you. At least give that. At least when they feet hit the ground, give back all the JPay money. That overpriced shit anyway. But these families have been paying for phone calls and JPay and all of this other stuff. You could at least reimburse for all of that. You know how many phone calls have been made because you're monitoring every last one of them. You know exactly what's going on. Woo. Let me digress for a minute.
And while you digress, then let me just have at it then, because you said everything I wanted to say and more. The thing is this: we went to MDOC and had meetings with them because, like you said, red carpet needs to be rolled out. There is no, I can't even wrap my mind around how you will bring somebody home and treat them like they committed a crime. And let me just say this: even if somebody did commit a crime, they shouldn't come home to these crappy reentry services that we got around here any doggone ways. Very inhumane. Do not really understand that a person, what they've just been through inside those walls, which is absolutely worse than anything that they ever could have faced out here on the doggone streets. It makes no sense. but we continue to see it over and over again. And I'm telling you right now, I don't think absolute immunity. See, here's the thing for me. I believe with God, all things are possible. But what happens is this. People think about God and they be praying to this God in the sky. No, God is in you. Get up off your tail and do something. Raise your mouth, because guess what? It might not be you today, but it could be your tail tomorrow. Period. And I tell people all the time, okay, let me calm down. I tell people all the time, don't fight for me like you fighting for me. Fight for me like you would fight for you. Because if you fight for me like you would fight for you, I know that's going to be a wonderful thing. Because I know I go hard in the paint for myself, but I also go hard in the paint for everybody else. Not so for any limelight or for anything, but it's because it is our duty. Because doggone it, and we see it time and time again, people won't say a mumbling word, but when it knocks on your door, you want everybody. You want to rally. You want to, and it's all right. Come on, we'll rally, but we need everybody to keep that same energy for one another, because I believe if we take the initiative and really start coming together. Paula and I was talking about this yesterday. Everybody's over here, over there doing stuff. No, we have to come together and make one powerful blow. That's going to be the impact that we need to see. And we don't got to wait for them to vote nothing in. We can start getting signatures and get that on the ballot our doggone self. We got to listen. We can't sit around and wait for these people. They already showed us what they'll do. They done showed us over and over and over again. So what that means is we got to wake up. We got to do what's right for ourselves and not wait around for them to do it.
Well,
you started it. Whew.
I can't help myself. I'm a pastor now. Can I get a little help? Woo, I wish I had some praying people on the line right now. Now let me stop acting silly. In all seriousness, we do ourselves an injustice because we do not vet candidates before they get on the ballot. We should be having these conversations right now. Who is our candidate? I can't speak for anybody else, but I will say what I've experienced in the Black community is we love to fragment the vote. We have had 30 damn people running for the same thing. Like, excuse me, can we get at least our top two and then let them run against each other in a runoff or something? Why we got to have 20 people running for the same seat or 10 or whatever? Those conversations need to be had in the basement of the church, like they did in the civil rights movement, at somebody's office or whatever, and push the best person forward. And then so with all of the fragmentation of those votes, then the person who we really don't want, they just slide on in there anyway. And that's another thing. I am tired of voting because I don't want somebody else. I want to vote for somebody that I really want, but I end up having to pick the lesser of two evils. And another thing that pissed me off, we have so much going on. We could have a legislative bill coming from the president right now, Biden. Right now. He signed one for Ling Ling, 2 Asian murders, and they got to stop the Asian hate bill. What would stop him? It's just a stroke of a pen.
Yeah.
We can have an exoneree bill.
Yeah.
At the stroke of a pen. He can have an independent investigation looking into these things. At the stroke of a pen, he could create a task force to look into it. Every Democrat, every individual, every stakeholder who got into office off of the backs of especially the Black vote, but any Democratic vote, whatever, you have failed us.
That's right.
Tremendously. The Democratic Party. I am not a card-carrying member of any party because if you ask me, they all ain't shit. But if you slid in office off of the backs of other Democrats, off of the backs of the Black vote, you know, how dare you come in the barbershop over here on 7 Mile, not too far from my house, Kamala Harris. You should have been over there where they dump all the damn tires at. Maybe you should have been talking to some of the people who are wrongfully convicted. Maybe you should have looked at some of the things that's really happening in the city of Detroit. We could have put you in touch with Linda. I'm sure Alicia would have loved to have had a conversation. Nobody is talking to the people, but they think they know what is best for you. They're not asking you. They don't even want to hear. And the listening tours. I'm so sick of that shit. I don't know what to do. They're not listening. That's a dog and pony show.
That's it.
They are not listening to nothing that you have to say. That is a smoke screen, banana in the tailpipe move. If I've ever seen one, I know, because I have been on boards and in positions before. And I'm telling you, what their minds are made up before they even get in front of the people. It's just procedure.
Do you see what Christy said? Christy said, citizens can write bills. That is how pot became legal in Michigan, I think. And you are right. And yes, they all suck. Let me tell you something. One of the head people in that game is Chuck Ring. I watched Chuck Ring and a team of people come together and pass those initiatives. And how they did it was they started at the local level. See, that's what we're not understanding. We need to start at that local level first. Get it passed with your city council. Get it passed with your county. Get it passed with your state. You do that, then you make the feds come to you. We would make them come to us, right? Because it's being passed everywhere. We've got to take the initiative by ourselves. I was going to ask, because I think Alicia said it. Alicia, what legislators have you been in contact with, or that have reached out to you in this process? None.
I think we're getting feedback because either is she still on your phone also?
Oh, wait.
So I don't know if she's gonna which mic.
Oh, I got you.
Oh, okay.
As far as me, no, I mean, with the good time stuff, I mean, I know Erwin just dropped the good time stuff, but as far as like with just Jason and I, not, I mean, I've had various people ask about his story and such, but not anything that's made further ado with anything, not anybody of any particular name, but nobody really wants to touch this. That's the thing about it, because it is such a, you know, I always say every time I put something, whether it's from the exoneree registration or shout out to the exoneree, well, I don't know if they're calling him an exoneree yet, but Juwan today, who was released, nobody wants to touch it. We always talk about, oh, you know, it's not real, it's fake. You know, it's not fake, it's real. Wayne County released 13 people last year. In the middle of a global pandemic, they released 13 people. Now, we're not going to talk about being an election year and Kim Worthy winning and only 2 being released this year from Wayne County, but nonetheless, 13 people gained their freedom last year. So I think criminal justice reform, prison reform, I think it's a huge thing, but I just don't think Michigan doesn't seem that interested. I feel like we're far behind the times. We're not progressive. We don't have a Larry Krasner, you know, from Philadelphia. We don't have, you know, some from California, the governor. We don't have any of those things. We have a Democratic governor who made a lot of promises on criminal justice reform and who has, in my opinion, my humble opinion, as a person who voted for her, hasn't done shit. That's just my opinion. So
no, that's not your opinion. Stop it. Those are facts. Because we watched through the whole entire pandemic when this woman had the power to release people to save lives. As a matter of fact, somebody who I know personally had 6 weeks left. Why would you keep somebody for 6 weeks in the middle of a pandemic, then they catch COVID and have to stay longer than 6 weeks? What? Huh? So now it's time for me to get out and I got to quarantine in here?
Mhm.
It's absolutely disgusting. But again, I say this all the time. We've got to get busy. We see, here's the thing. It's easy for us to point the finger at them. However, some of us have sat around for a very long time not doing nothing. I know I was one of them.
Mhm.
I just, here in Washington County, Brian Mackey, I just voted for him. I didn't know nothing about him. I didn't research nothing. I would just go and vote. Oh, he's a Democrat? Okay. Not knowing that this man wrongly incarcerated my best friend and his brother. I voted this guy in. So it's like, yes, we have to hold them accountable, but you can't hold nobody accountable until you hold yourself accountable first. And that doesn't mean like, oh, it's so bad. And no, repent, understand that you made a mistake and jump on board. It's okay, you weren't there before, but we need all hands on deck right now for this fight. Paula, because you were saying you don't want to talk about Whitmer, so that means you got something to say about
I need to bite my tongue until Temujin's free.
Right. Yes. Totally understand that.
I have some things I can say after that, but it's hard to say stuff right now. I bite my tongue right off. Oh my God, I bite my tongue right off. So one thing I will say is that we were very disappointed. I don't know if any of you have read the Detroit News, I think it's the Detroit Free Press that Nolan Finley works for. He's the very conservative paper, very conservative news reporter. And he wrote a beautiful article. He's been a supporter for years, and he wrote a beautiful article regarding Senator Carl Levin, who has been one of Temujin's biggest and most influential supporters behind the scenes for decades. And he personally met with Governor Whitmer at least twice in 2020 that we know of. Probably was more than that. He was calling her weeks before he passed away from his deathbed. And he was literally begging her to let Temujin go. And I knew it was going to happen because we had heard word from his family, from Senator Levin's family, that he was ill. And I just knew that, something bad was going to happen, and Whitmer was going to come out and, with this big, we need to honor, Senator Levin, and he was so great. And I was sick to my stomach because I knew it was going to happen. And I knew they were going to come back and they were going to say that she was going to come out with some sort of press release, and she was going to say, what a great man he was. And it was just maddening because I knew that, she sure didn't honor him when he was alive. And, we heard from his daughter, Kate, who told us that, Temujin's file was the only open file on Senator Levin's desk when he passed away. And that it was heartbreaking for the whole family. Wow. And Temujin really wanted to meet him. He wanted to thank him, and he fought for years. And so Nolan wrote a beautiful article about, honor Levin by letting, Kensu go, and crickets from the governor's office.
Wow.
And it's just that two-faced that I can't stand, that it gets to me. It just gets to me. It's just like, don't say what a great man he was and how wonderful he was when you wouldn't honor him when he was alive. Just don't even say that. Like, just go away. Don't even say anything. Don't get up there and lie. It just makes me sick. And it just ate Temujin up, that whole week when he lost his biggest supporter. And
wow.
And then he lost his mom the very next week.
Oh, no. Wow. Let me get this plugged in. I don't want to lose you, Paula. Okay, there we go. I think it's because we know the problem, right? We know the problem. We know. Okay, first of all, because I think you brought this up, Alicia, why do we still have 70-something officers from the Detroit Police Department on the Brady list and they're not fired?
I know Jason just told me a new Brady list came out today, so I was looking that up.
Oh, did it?
That's what he said. He said he thinks there was one from 2021, which I know she came out with one last July and December. But yeah, those same, and I don't know who has the power to fire them other than the chief. That's another thing with Jason's case is that David Pouch on the stand by ballistics experts with with Desmond Rick's case said that he either was not smart or he purposely did the ballistics wrong. Now, mind you, he's not the only one. I know other people who've had this whole thing with David Pouch. He knowingly did that. And that's one person too many because Desmond Ricks was in prison for, I don't know, 20 plus years, I believe. So how much money is that now that's being taken from the state? How are these people, just one case is too many for you to, why are you not on a Brady list? Why are you, Chief Craig said, we're going to investigate. We're opening every case in 2017 David Pouch ever did. That was lies. Jason's case with the Detroit Crime Lab, which was a huge thing down there in 2008. I'm from Grand Rapids. I'm not from Wayne County, but was a huge thing in 2008. Kim Worthy was given money to look into that, and she said she was going to open cases and things like that. Never happened. So there's all these things. We have these Brady violations. Kevin Harrington, the same police officer who got him. I'm friends with Vargas Johnson's wife. Him and his brother are doing life sentences. That same officer was on their case. Why are we waiting? Why are we waiting? You know, like we have proof from Jason's case, Michigan State Police, we have proof that there was errors in his ballistics. That should be enough, in my opinion, and I'm not a lawyer, that should be enough to say, do we really have enough to charge him? Do we really have enough? Because that's what you guys based it on. So, and we have proof that there's errors. So it's just, nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to do anything about it. You know, we could, like I said, we could talk about Kim Worthy for years. I'm not under any legal obligation to not talk about her. And, you know, I was on J Love's podcast last week, and I think a lot of people, I do agree with some of the things that were said by other people, is that I'm not kissing her ass just because of who she is. And if that makes me, you know, Jason's like, well, we shouldn't talk about it. And I'm like, well, you got me. I'm sorry. I curse a lot and I don't care. And people, I'm going to be heard. And if people don't like it, people just need to not be around me. So I'm going to scream as loud as I can. And people need to take responsibility. That's what it comes down to.
That's right.
You know, this whole thing with Kim Worthy, every person that she's released, she doesn't even say her office. Who prosecutes? Your office is prosecuting people. And it's shown that this is where you take no accountability whatsoever. Oh, it was an error. They had her on freaking NBC Nightly News with that 3-minute snip.
Oh my God, that just
I told people we need to call them and tell them she is a effing liar. She's a liar, and I don't care. I would tell her to her face. I don't care who she is.
And she's asking for former prosecutors to come out of retirement. Former prosecutors who are responsible for these wrongful convictions to help her prosecute the backlog that's in the system right now. These formerly corrupt prosecutors, you want to bring them back out for a second go at people?
Sickening.
And how is it? Like, how do we even do that? How, and that goes again, I know nothing, and I still don't. I work with Michigan Justice Advocacy on the Good Time Bill. I volunteer with them. I don't know anything about politics. I'm the least political person. But there's just so much politically going on. You know, when we talked about Detroit earlier and Whitmer and all this corruption, no one's saying anything. No one's, Michigan has been always, Ken Nixon said this on a podcast I watched the other night. Michigan has consistently been in the wrongful convictions, top tier of wrongful convictions, overturned, found out 160, yes, for years. And no one's saying a fucking word. No one's got anything to say.
Wayne County.
Yes.
responsible for more than 50% of all of those wrongful convictions in Michigan.
13 of the was it the 20? 13 of the 20 last year came out of Wayne County.
Yeah.
That's not problematic. That doesn't raise any flags for anyone. That's not.
But they're going to state statistics because Wayne County processes a great deal more crimes than any other combination of counties too. So they're going to get you on that statistical information. It's just like the women. The women make up only 8%, roughly, of the entire prison population. Why are the women not even making up 1% of the wrongfully convicted exonerated? Why is that the women are not being noticed? Because men typically have a larger support system that will go out and fight for them. And I'm not saying that my family didn't. They didn't know how to. But we women, when we go out and fight for our man, we're vocal. But find women to go out and fight for another woman. Mm-hmm. You're limited. You're very limited. Also, if I can digress, I understand that the Conviction Integrity Unit is a wonderful thing. However, I believe Trichet was at this same U of M conference last year with Jody White, and we watched both of those women who are in charge of the Conviction Integrity Units, both for the state and for Wayne County. And I asked the question, how are you determining who is seen in what order on these submitted applications? And they said, we look at them in the order that they are received. I'm here to tell you, and Kenneth Nixon and Mr. Howard are a testament of the lie that is. I am grateful that those two men are out, but I have 2 applications that I submitted for sisters in prison that were submitted prior to both Kenneth and Mr. Howard's, and I have proof of that. And they have not been looked at yet. These 2 women's cases have not been looked at. And one of them has so much glaring evidence. And that woman has been down for more than 20 years. She has missed her children's entire childhood, and those children were coerced to be the very witnesses against their mother by removing them from their mother. And the WICA fund, Valerie said how broken that system is. The WICA fund will not pay you unless you have new evidence. But if the largest percentage of wrongful convictions involves prosecutorial or police misconduct, why are they prohibiting people who had a wrongful conviction due to those 2 factors not be considered for the WICA? That's not new evidence. That evidence was there from the beginning that it was a wrongful incarceration.
I don't think there's ever new evidence, right? That doesn't, I've not looked too far into that. Because
there is sometimes where it's new evidence.
But it's always been, it's always been there somewhere, typically, like it's not.
Like Valerie said, it's a loophole to protect them from spending money.
It is.
Well, you know what?
Daryl Sigger's case was like that. Daryl Sigger.
The WICA.
Daryl Sigger's case was like that. Daryl Sigger's case was the bullet was assessed by someone that could not even be considered an expert witness. You have to be a year into this position to be considered an expert witness. And this person was just shy of that, right? Didn't really know what he was doing. And so in his case, the bullet is what set him free, because somebody looked at it and said, it's absolutely is not. I can't remember the logistics of it, but it was something with the bullet. Well, guess what? The bullet was in the trial. So they say that's not new evidence. Okay, but You had somebody that was an expert witness, and this is the reason why that this man was wrongly incarcerated was because of the bullet. So what? It's not considered new evidence. So what? It's not from, you know what I'm saying? It was in that first trial. It was the reason why this man did, how long did Daryl do?
34
years this man did incarcerated. But he can't get his money? Like, come on now.
I don't think there should be any stipulation on that. There shouldn't be any stipulation on how, who, why, what. If they're in there and it was wrong, they should be home. It doesn't matter. Sent it. I don't care.
Flat out.
You're in there and you're not supposed to be, you should get money. That's just, I agree, the loophole situation.
Prosecutorial misconduct and police misconduct should always qualify for that fund.
Yeah.
Always. Because that is the number one reason for wrongful conviction.
Mm-hmm. But they'll never admit that, though. I mean,
no,
paper.
But that fund has rules that state that you must be given 20% down, and they can give you 10% after that per year until that's paid. So there's people that are not getting that 20% down. Why is it only 20%? If you consider, okay, let's take a situation like mine, for example. 9 years. $450,000. That's $90,000. If I were exonerated and then qualified for that fund, that's $90,000. I have no credit, very, very poor credit, because I'm newly exonerated. I'm working on it, but can I go and get a loan?
No.
What about a job?
No.
I'm very blessed to have a job, but I can't pass a criminal background check. I have very little. So if I need to go and get a house, I need to go and get a car, I need to get furniture, I need to get clothing. If I was just freshly out and hadn't been working these 3 years to earn my way, these people coming out, like Valerie said, they're going to be couch surfers, because especially women, a woman needs her own nest. It is very difficult for a woman to live in someone else's home. Very difficult. But we don't think about that for these people. Men, yes, men are very proud. We women are very proud too. And we want to go in and we want to set up homemaking. We feel like we're in the way of the person who's already set up home. Yeah. We want to grocery shop. We want to nurture. But we can't do that in someone else's home to the best that we would do it in our own home. But we're being handicapped from doing that because of this WICA fund and because of the caveats in this WICA fund. Why should they be able to draw interest on the money that we should be getting right away at the get? And we can't get enough to just set up our own home? Have a person go out and rent? You're only getting this 20% down for the first year. If they rent and they blow that money on rent every year, they're not going to have enough by the time they save for the next 3 to 4 years to build their credit to get a loan.
That part.
What are you doing? You're throwing away your money that you could have been pouring into equity. The law is handicapping these people who are wrongfully convicted. This WICA fund is handicapping.
You know, and that's why I say there are existing systems that could be put into play for exonerees.
Yeah.
HUD vouchers.
Yeah.
Food stamps. Medicaid.
And you have a law that's going to allow them to take up to 2 years to expunge your name. 2 years.
All of that needs to be day one when their foot hits the ground. And, you know, here's the other thing, and I don't know if this has changed, but, you know, people who are paroled get more help and services than those who are exonerated. Yeah. When you're exonerated, like, sorry, we put you in here. You're out now. See you later.
But the law does say that they are entitled to everything that a parolee receives. That's what the law says, but the reality does not.
Yeah.
It's just a shame.
They need to have a liaison in each state for exonerees. Appoint someone in a governmental office who is a liaison for that person to take them around and get them their Social Security card, their state insurance, a state ID, help them obtain their driver's license. That is an exorbitant expense for these families to foot.
Yep.
It was huge for my family to help me get that far on my feet. It's ridiculous that the government, like you said, see ya, now you're on your own. We're done. We've washed our hands. We don't have to help you.
Wow.
Yeah, it's, there's so much to do. So let's, I guess, segue into some of that. We talked about what we think should be done, and a lot of the systems that are in place that's broken. What would justice truly look like if we had our ideal situation on how to resolve these things? Linda, what would justice look like for you?
I can't talk about the specifics,
Okay.
of course, but for me personally, but I would say that prosecutors and police officers need penalties. I think Paula's idea for having a fund is an amazing idea. I think that's great. But I think that it should be written in the canons of conduct, what the penalty is for participating in a wrongful conviction. I think that needs to be laid out when they take office. They take an oath, and that oath should include the word integrity, and it should include the definition of what is going to happen when you fail to conduct yourself with integrity. We've all heard people preach on, if you convict the wrong person, you have not made the streets safer. In fact, you have handicapped the community, because the community believes there is a false sense of security because the bad guy is gone. And they continue to live in a more relaxed state. Well, the bad guy is our prosecutor. And when you put the good guys away, you should have something. We shouldn't have to work so hard to pierce your immunity by proving fraudulent conduct. And that's what it is. When you put the wrong person away, knowingly, having fabricated evidence, having used ballistics reports that are not from someone who is reputable, by using expert testimony from someone who has not concluded that investigation properly, then you have not operated with integrity of office. You've committed fraud. And fraud is punishable by you or me. If we commit perjured testimony, we can face a sentence. Those sentences need to be across the board. If a prosecutor makes a false statement, of course, he's not under oath. But if he makes a false statement during that trial to the jury, that should be considered perjury by law. That should be a statute. In a state that has too many statutes and overcharges and over convicts people, we have too few of protections by the people that are supposed to be protecting us. I think that they should do jail time.
I agree.
They know better than anyone else what the law expects and what the penalties are for every other person but themselves. So they should not be above the law. And people will say, well, if they weren't protected, they wouldn't run for prosecutor. If they were people like Eli Savitt or Victoria Burton Harris, they would. If they were those people who were out there trying to guide other potential prosecutors or potential lawyers, people in the justice system taking criminal justice classes, they would. Maybe we would get a different caliber of people running for those offices. People who want the integrity of office and want the right person convicted.
I agree. Thank you, Linda. Alicia, what would justice look like?
I always think justice looks like Jason being home. That's the biggest and most for, but to say that, I feel like Jason always says, when I come home, I'm not doing what those other exonerees do. I'm sitting my ass down. And I think that's easy to say because, like you guys stated earlier in the show, they have no idea, Linda, I think you had mentioned it, what goes on out here. Jason always says, I didn't know you were going to become, an activist. That's what they call me at Muskegon Correctional. Like, I didn't know you were going to become, like, out here fist up and screaming and hollering and all that. He didn't know that he woke up the beast in me. But justice is Jason home. But I mean, I think Paula and I are part of we call ourselves, we have a group of wrongfully incarcerated like we're the wives of wrongfully incarcerated men in Michigan. So I don't think, I love to say that of course I want Jason home, but I don't think it's justice until they're all home. And I mean, is that job ever done? Is it ever going to stop? I mean, they say what, between 1 and up to 10% of all incarcerations are wrongful. And that's just wrongful. That's not overly sentenced or anything else. So I think we have a long way, but I think accountability is the largest word. And I think that starts with policing. I think policing is huge. Prosecutors are huge. Judges are, I mean, it's everyone. Like Trisha said, it comes back to us. I met you guys, I don't know. I'm new to the Real Black Coffee podcast, but I know Shawana will be there on Saturday. But I met her for the first time June 4th. Yes, Paula, at the Wrongful Conviction rally in front of Frank Murphy on June 4th. And she became my sister that day. Like, I am so, if she's watching, hey sister, but she became my sister that day. And like she said, like you guys have stated on here too, it comes back to us. We need voting and who we vote for and calling people accountable and calling for accountability everywhere because they work for us. And it's so easy to play ignorant to that fact. Okay, I voted for him. Okay, that sounds good. Or like what you said, Valerie, about I don't want to vote for who's the least bad. I vote a lot of my decisions now since becoming the, Jay's advocate is a lot of stuff. I'm like, I don't care about anything else. What do they think about prison reform? What do they think about criminal justice? What do they think about good time? What do they think about, because that matters to me. So I think accountability on all fronts, starting with myself, all the way up the ladder. That's the biggest thing. So until we do that, we're going to continue to have this. We're going to continue to have wrongful convictions, unfortunately. We need progressive prosecutors, progressive attorney generals. I am fascinated and enamored with Larry Krasner from Philadelphia. I followed Victoria Burton Harris last year. I wish I would have been in Wayne County to vote for her, but I always say the people of Wayne County were not ready for Valerie Burton Harris because I think there's still a lot of blind eyes in Wayne County and in Detroit. And it's unfortunate. I mean, Jason's mom knew nothing. She goes, oh, I voted for her a time or two. And I'm like, like she didn't know. She was at a time, I was told, and I've done a little bit of research on her, at a time, she was a progressive Black woman. And I don't take anything away from that part of, but you have to do right by people, and she's not doing that.
Well, yes, I agree. When she made a name for herself with that Malice Green case by putting, prosecuting those police officers, right? And I'll say that popularity wins elections a lot of times without people realizing what you're popular for. That smoke screen clears, name recognition, selfie moments, all of that stuff works. She was good during that time, but we need a little bit more. And people that have been exonerated and some that are in the wrongful conviction family just don't see the things the same way that I do, and that's fine. But I feel like the true integrity should have come through her office prior to anyone being wrongfully convicted.
Yeah.
And I stand on that. And I'm not saying that, her conviction integrity unit is not getting guys out. That's really, really good. And we'll probably see a slew of them next election. It's interesting how, it gets on a faster pace, when it's time to be voted on and voted into office and things of that nature. But I just still say that the integrity is making sure that the people who work for you are doing the right thing.
That's right.
And then we won't have this conversation about exoneration because people will not be wrongfully convicted and wrongfully charged. Sometimes they just have some of the most outlandish charges. They just charge, throw everything up against the wall and let's see what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get away from all of that.
Well, I mean, I will say, and I know, Linda, like we all know, Detroit's huge. It's huge for crime. It's huge for a lot of things. But to say it's problematic for the CIU to be open, Wayne County CIU to be opened just the beginning of 2018. So just shy of 4 years. And there has been over 1,500 applications. Over 1,500 applications. I call them applications of innocence. And we have the AG who's been open. I know they tried to open it up last year. And they have, for the other 80 plus counties, just 500 applications. That to me in itself speaks volumes. No, probably not. Everybody that sent their application is probably not innocent. But I know far too many people who are wrongful. And the story is it's all over. It's not just one or two people. It's not just my Facebook is filled with people who are either fighting for someone, they were someone, they know someone. That's what my Facebook is filled with. That's what's happened to me over the past 6 months since I became more vocal about Jason's case, is that my Facebook is now filled with people who like Trisha, people who want to, make my voice louder, wives with husbands, mothers with sons with, fathers. It's a sad story that just keeps and continues to replay.
Wow. Paula just made, she said she wrote to 40 senators. We need to make a lot of noise about those dirty cops that are hiding info, Brady violations. Here's a disturbing immunity fact. An attorney who works for a defendant has no immunity. A prosecutor who works for the state as an attorney and is paid to prosecute has absolute immunity. A prosecutor gets for doing the exact same job as an attorney, but having immunity when he or she is working against the people. I tell you, I don't know what the solution is. I mean, we have many. Where do we even start? Where do we begin? Yeah. But I will tell you, having the conversations with the right people in the room is a beginning. And that's the perfect segue into what is going on this Saturday. So take it away, Trisha.
All right. So, oh my goodness, we are definitely grateful to be coming together again. We came together for the first time in 2019, and last year we could not do it, and it was so hurtful. But we are so grateful to Wayne County Community College District Northwest Campus for allowing us into their campus so that we can host this summit that is taking place this Saturday, October the 2nd, from 12 to 4 p.m. From 12 to 1, we call it the Parade of Our Wrongly Incarcerated Loved Ones and Networking Hour. We will, during that time, hear stories from families and even hear stories from those that are wrongly incarcerated themselves. And then the summit will start promptly at 1 p.m. And we have our legislators coming, families, exonerees, turning a moment into a movement. Mr. Sam Riddle. We have so many people that are coming together to raise their voices on the behalf of this atrocity, this injustice. And so please, 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 we need all hands on deck. I don't care if you don't have a loved one that's wrongly incarcerated. You still need to be there. You still need to get this information and this education, because I promise you, when you hear these stories, you will be moved to action. There will be no way that you could hear these stories and not want to join in this justice fight. So we're asking everybody, and we mean it. We need all hands on deck. So I hope that people will answer the call and join us.
Thank you so much. Well, with that, I guess we will be preparing. Are all minds clear for right now? Is there anything else you want to say, Trisha?
No, Paula, did you have any last words?
I was just going to say, probably post the flyer there in the comments so that people know the address and the time of the event on Saturday. I'll be there. Alicia will be there. We've got just it's just going to be an amazing event. It's going to be very moving. The Michigan Innocence Clinic is going to be there. And I'm just very excited about it. And thank you again for inviting me and for the opportunity. And I'm very humbled and thankful that you guys are doing what you do.
Well, thank you.
Proud to be in the fight with you.
Oh,
and we're so happy. Yes.
Oh, I need to say one more thing, Valerie. The building we will be in is the Denise Wellens Glover Welcome Center. So when you turn in, you're going to veer off to the left, and that building will be right there on the right-hand side. We will have signs out directing you which way to go, but I just want everyone to know it is in the Denise Wellens Glover Welcome Center on that campus.
All righty. Well, with that being said, Linda, thank you so much. We love you. We certainly appreciate you. Is there anything you would like to say before we depart? You're muted, sweetheart. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I got you.
Okay. I just want to thank you. You women are so inspirational and amazing. There's so much that you do that people just don't even realize. And facilitating things like this and your survivors speak. That was the first place that I had seen you, and I'm fangirling. I'm just fangirling.
I think the admiration is reciprocal.
Yes, it is. It definitely is. I'm fanning on you too, boo.
Yes, yes, yes. So thank you, Linda. We love you. We appreciate you, and we support you.
Yeah, thank you all so much for just sharing and just continuing to fight. And I will say this, you all are so inspiring, right? Because on the days that I get tired, I'm like, doggone it, if they can fight, then we all can fight. So just know, that you all are taking charge. You are not laying down to this shit. And you serve as an example for all of us that we can take this into our own hands and fight this fight. And we got to do it together. But if we do it together, we can accomplish so much more.
That's right. Alicia, any parting words for our viewers?
Just thank you, Valerie and Trisha, again. Thank you. Trisha, we've had limited contact, but I feel like this week we've gotten to know each other between the emails and everything. But I really want to extend my gratitude and love on behalf of Jason and myself. He really has no idea what I do and how hard I do it. But he's so thankful and he's so humble. And thank you for allowing me to lend my voice on behalf of him, because I ask for no thank you. Freedom and justice is a thankless job fighting for this. And I don't want accolades at all. I just want him home. And I want all of the people that I've grown to love over the last year and a half. I want them home too. So I just continue to keep us in your prayers as we manifest, because it's coming to fruition for every last one of us. And I truly believe it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Trisha, would you like to have any parting words before we get out of here?
Just thank you. We need all hands on deck. And you can't hold these people accountable unless you hold yourself accountable. Let's keep our hands to the plow. Let's stay busy. Let's stay in peace. We fight. I've got to say this. We fight against each other sometimes for some of the dumbest stuff that don't even matter. Let's build on what we agree on, and that is justice. As long as we keep that as our focus, we will not go wrong. So that's it.
Well, thank you. You have been listening to a live broadcast of the Real Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, where I don't try to spill the tea or make you feel dazed like you drank a shot of cheap liquor. I just want you to see things from another perspective, mine. And so we're out of here. We hope to see many of you on Saturday, October the 2nd, at Wayne County Community College District's Northwest Campus, Southfield Freeway and Outer Drive at 12 noon for the second annual Wrongful Conviction Summit, hosted by Survivor Speaks. We love you too, Linda, Alicia, Paula, and we're out of here. You guys have a good night.